Helping people is what I'm all about. Just don't expect any good results.
You got a steady back home? Because my exquisite derriere might make you say otherwise.
Don't expect me to fight the power without creating a scene.
Hello and welcome to the Real Housewives of River Heights. My name is Jade Gregory, and as always, we have my wonderful fellow housewives, Tina.
Hello, my beautiful dolls.
And Nikki.
Hello.
And on today's episode, we will be talking about Nancy Drew and the Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake.
Yet another day, another game that we discuss
Very
about
true.
a mystery taking place on stolen land. Let's go, let's go.
Spoiler warning for those who have not yet played the Nancy Drew Mystery Game series. Also, there will be not safe for work content, talk of alcohol, swearing, dirty jokes, etc. So kick the kiddos out and let's get rolling. Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake is number 7 in the installment of Nancy Drew Point and Click Adventures series by Her Interactive. This game is based loosely on 2 books instead of 1. We have Nancy Drew Ghost Stories Ghost Dogs of Whispering Oaks from 1989 and Mystery by Moonlight from 2002. So to start off, we have Nancy Drew writing a letter to Ned. It says, "Dear Ned, remember Sally McDonald, the woman who took those photos that Dad has up in his office? Well, she just bought a house in Moon Lake, Pennsylvania. A gangster named Mickey Malone built it back in the 20s as his country getaway. We're talking major fixer-upper. Anyway, last night Sally called and said she desperately needed my detective skills. She refused to say why over the phone. Naturally, I said I'd drive to Moon Lake immediately. But weird things started happening the moment I pulled up. First, this big tree fell down behind my car and has me totally blocked in, and then I discovered that Sally's gone. She left a note that suggested something terrible happens here at night. She's supposed to call me from her car. So here I sit, writing to you while I wait for the phone to ring. It's nighttime, and although part of me is dying to know what frightened Sally away, another part of me is starting to feel a little bit uneasy. I'll let you know what happens. Ever yours, Nancy."
You really sounded like Nancy for a bit there.
I'll take it as a compliment.
I was like, wow.
It's the nasal Nina.
Agreed.
Alright. So Nancy was asked by her friend, Sally McDonald, as we learned from the note, to visit Moon Lake, PA. Sally had recently bought the house from a well-known gangster of Mickey Malone.
She didn't buy it from him because he's been dead. Yeah.
Oh gosh, he's dead.
But it was his land.
Oh, she recently bought the house, I think, from the bank, which belonged in the past by a gangster named Mickey Malone. My wording. I'm loosely reading what I wrote. So when we arrive, Nancy is blocked by a fallen tree in the driveway and Sally is gone, but there's only a note left, as we learn from her letter to Ned. So later that night, after arriving, Nancy gets a call the minute she gets into the cabin from Sally. It's her apologizing for leaving her alone and continues to beg her to also leave the property. But Nancy, as always, is determined to find out what is scaring Sally, so she refuses. And she can't leave because there's a tree there anyways. As Sally tries to explain the horrible dog attack, her phone cuts in and out and eventually cutting her off completely.
Can I just say one thing about Sally? Like, what a bitch. What a bitch. I'm just saying, what a horrible friend. First of all, you ask your friend to drive all the way to your cabin in the middle of nowhere to help you out with something, and then you get too scared and then you leave, and you don't even try to call your friend to let her know, do a U-turn, make a U-turn, don't come here, I'm leaving.
Maybe before she left River Heights or something.
Wait, but don't she have a PDA? Don't she have a PDA?
She literally leaves probably an hour before Nancy gets there.
Yeah, it's you couldn't wait. Nancy was on her way. I get being scared to be in the house alone, but it seems like Sally just left last minute and let Nancy stay there alone, which is so rude.
I'm just saying, if she was a good friend, she would have stayed until Nancy showed up. It don't matter if she gets killed by dogs, okay? You stay, even if you get mauled by dogs. Like that's being a ride or die friend. Just saying.
How close are Nancy and Sally actually? Because I feel like, did Nancy say they went to high school together?
I think she's her dad's friend.
Well, she's like 27. I don't know if she's
Maybe
friends with
not.
Carson.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Then I can somehow forgive a little bit Sally, but still, what? Still, bitch. Still,
No,
bitch.
the plot line is that she's a friend of Nancy's father.
Why does Carson have a 27-year-old friend?
What kind of photos does she take exactly?
She's a freelance photographer. It doesn't say what kind of photos she
Is
takes.
like saucy photos for Carson Drew?
I'm guessing she's a nature photographer based on where she moved out to.
Like, what could be more, natural than, au naturel in the forest? I'm just saying.
Why is Carson friends with a 27-year-old freelance photographer?
Where does it say she's 27?
I swear to God, it says it somewhere that she's 27. There's like, maybe in her Nancy's notes or something.
Maybe.
She's definitely
I must have missed
definitely
that.
not Carson's age.
Maybe Sally is Carson's secret sugar baby.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
How come the cabin looks like shit then?
Well, I mean,
She just got there.
you start somewhere, but when your relationship gets further, maybe he'll buy her a better cabin.
Maybe.
She wants to fix it up, make it
Yeah.
fancy.
Oh, she's trying to fix. She's trying to fix.
It's a bit of a fixer-upper. Sorry. Okay. So, while Nancy tries to figure out what Sally was trying to say on the phone, she gets interrupted by the weirdest noise possible.
What is that? Something's out there.
So we go outside to find where the noise is coming from and run into Red Knot. The weird noises were for him. He was trying to call for a bird. A howl stops the conversation between the two, and Ned explains the ghost dogs are coming and tells Nancy to get back inside the house. So Red Knot is an avid bird watcher who sleeps during the day so he can make bird calls at night. He distrusts tourists of any kind, viewing them as threats to the natural ecosystem of Moon Lake. He dislikes Nancy due to her loud, inquisitive manner and the strange accidents that trail her. Sorry, Red is so.
Red, are we talking about the older version of Peter Griffin? Are we talking about that? That Red Knot? Okay, yeah, the ones who puts camel on top of camel. Is that one?
On top of camel.
Yep. Camel.
First of all, isn't the place where his nest is technically on Sally's property?
Oh my goodness, hang on. There's a way to look. If you look in the ranger station, there's like the map of like the Malone land. I think it might be just right outside of it.
Okay, because I always thought that place, that patch of woods, actually belonged to Sally. So I was like, why the fuck? Like, why isn't he actually trespassing? But that makes sense.
So another character that comes up, Emily from M's Emporium.
She mentions... you're going? Wait, okay. I thought you were like transitioning to Emily. I was like, wait, we were not done talking.
No.
Okay.
She brings up that Red trespasses on people's properties.
Yeah, I mean,
making bird noises.
In the beginning of the game, he's definitely on Sally's property because he's right in front of the house.
Yeah.
Making bird calls. So yeah, he definitely was trespassing that time.
I don't know if it ever crossed his mind that an old man, disgusting looking man,
well, you really don't like Red.
Going into people's like a young 27-year-old property and having his little corner right by her window is kind of creepy, but or he knows he just, I mean, does he care? I don't know. He could This is creepy.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember the part of the game where he asks Nancy to take photos? And the way that he asks is so fucking creepy. Like, I'm trying to remember what exactly he says. He says, like,
I think I might have that written down. No, I don't.
he says something about wanting you to take photos for him. And he says it in a really creepy way, but I can't remember the exact dialogue that he
Oh,
uses.
yeah, well, maybe I'll jog your memory later.
Yeah,
I
and
have some things.
imagine like when Nancy gives him like the photos of actual birds, he's like, "Oh, I actually meant chicks, not actual literally birds." But
Nah, he gets off from bird pictures. We all know it.
the little sound he made at the beginning of the game, like it probably turns him on. Like this is what turns him on.
Woo!
This is the moaning that he does.
Woo! It's something like that.
Oh my gosh.
I'll have to add in that noise. I'm gonna add that in. I'm gonna try to find it. All right. So as we make our way back into the house,
This is not good.
the four ghost dogs attack. Hence the name, Ghost Dogs of Moonlight. All right. As legend says, the dogs come back to haunt and scare away anybody who tries to live in the house. At this point, we have some time to just kind of, as we're getting attacked, we can explore. Might as well after the attack's done. An average person would have left, but Nancy's like, nah, I'm gonna explore this house and then go to bed. So some things that we can like walk around and like look at are the two puzzles, and we slowly start to notice that whoever lived in this cabin has a serious obsession with dogs. There's a clock, dog clock, dog weird cabinet above the sofa. There's a puzzle. There's a poem about dogs. There's a lot of dogs.
Well, we can determine from from the environment that the previous owner wasn't a cat person.
He was not a cat person. As we're exploring this area, there's some things that we need to find that we pick up because, as usual, per Nancy's MO, she steals everything. So we find out things like the water needs to get tested for the cabin. So we basically make it our priority to take care of the cabin's duties to help Sally, even though she really didn't ask us. We're like finding everything like, oh, mice. And then we get to this note on the wall. And there, the note on the wall says,
Rotten floorboards. Watch your.
and Nancy dies. And that's our first death of the game.
You know, it makes sense that Nancy, when she saw those dogs outside, she doesn't have the primal instinct to just up and leave. She just goes outside that as if nothing happened and just explores the forest at night. It makes sense because this girl cannot die. This girl cannot die. She dies, but she comes back as if nothing happened.
Literally, you can go outside, and I'm just like, why is this allowed? I feel like an average person would be like, no. But if you do go outside and try to take the boat, because you do have that conversation with Sally about, going and taking the boat because there's no car, you can't do it because it's not safe at night. So at least we can't die that way.
Well, Nancy, she dies pretty easily. Like as soon as you forget to put on a vest or a helmet, then it's immediately death. Immediately, no chances of survival. explosion in the freaking water, like a whole like explosion.
I think it's because they want to teach kids to be safe. So, like in Danger on Deception Island, they make Nancy die. She doesn't wear a helmet because I think they wanted to teach kids they should always wear a helmet.
When I was playing on my stream, I totally forgot to wear a vest. I was like, why does she keep dying?
Yes, as adults, we just don't learn. We still haven't learned our lesson. Those games haven't taught us, survival skills.
Well, it's also hard to see if you're pulling the if you're like fixing the boat or trying to fix the boat, which we find out later that the boat's missing a spark plug and we have to somehow get it, which is actually in pertaining to the next day. So there's like a lot of running around in these games, a lot of going from one place to the other to the next, so on and so forth.
About the spark plug, or the torque, the spark plug or the torque. As someone who is non-mechanical and also wasn't a English speaker really when I was a teen, I absolutely had no idea what Nancy was talking about. I was like, what the fuck is a torque? What the fuck is a spark plug? Is that a car bolt part? What? And and wait, but like torque is basically a screwdriver. So why isn't she saying screwdriver?
Torque is not it's not a screwdriver, it's the force. So like when you're screwing something, torque is the force that gets generated when you do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what Nancy means when she says I need torque, because she needs to those things that are in the back of the boat have to be screwed up and down.
Oh, but it's the twisting part. It's the force.
Yeah, it's the force generated by that.
Oh,
That's what torque is.
okay. I actually never got that explanation for years. Well, I mean, I just got the explanation now. It's a lesson for me. It's a lesson for me.
Don't say you never learned anything on this podcast, folks.
Yep.
Hey, a lot of people have learned a lot of things from our podcast, like the M for the map. Anyways. And how to say foyer. Anyways.
That might have just been you.
I don't know what you're talking about. All right, so the next day, if we go outside, there's two different doors we can go outside. We have the side door in the kitchen and the front door in the living room. So because we fell through the floor, we have to be on the hunt for, I don't know how we're supposed to figure this out, but for floorboards. I think Nancy says something if you click on the floorboards that you need something. We might as well take a trip down the woods. How does everyone feel about the woods? I might as well bring it up now.
Every time I play this game, I have to relearn how to navigate the woods.
Yeah, it's to be honest, I can see how people would get frustrated with the woods, but honestly, maybe I'm just good orienting myself, but
Bragging.
I can just I mean it's not I need to learn as well. Each time I start the game, I forgot what the map looks like, so I have to look up the map a few times. But once I learn how to get to certain points, like the landmarks and the cemetery, then it's like I learn which way, so I really don't need to look at the map. But it takes like a few trips, I guess. A few trips.
Yeah, I agree with that. I will say too that the woods in this game are not nearly as difficult as the ones in Captive Curse.
I forgot.
I think these are a lot easier to get around than that.
Oh my goodness, I forgot about that. Since I recently played it, I surprisingly had muscle memory. And I remembered how to get through the woods my first try with that, like looking at the map once, and I was very impressed with myself. But
I think once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy to navigate.
My brain went backwards though. After that, that was the only time I did it successfully, was the one time. If you go through the woods following the map, you end up at the cemetery where You find Mickey's tomb covered in paw prints, as Nancy likes to point out. It's covered in paw prints. And you also have the graves of all of his dogs, and they all share the same date of death. And I wrote, that's weird. There's also other tombstones that you can interact with within this area, such as a guy named Waldo or Tina's favorite,
Stench!
which I don't remember looking at.
apparently it's a pun.
Stench as a royal, which, yeah.
Yeah, like royal stench, meaning like a really big stench.
Every games that royally dumps or sasses or just being shady towards the royal family, I gotta give it points.
I'm not sure if it is shade towards the royal family because royal just means big, like when people use it as an adjective. But we can take it that way.
Take it however which way
do
we
you
want.
want me to look at this game more favoritively, or still like with the meh attitude? Do you want
This
to
game
push
is a
me
personal
towards?
favorite, so I'll let you take that interpretation if it makes it you like it more.
She's not gonna like my rating later.
No, now that you said it, it's ruined. I take back my points.
Oh no!
Oh no.
You ruined it.
We still stand stench.
Still stand stench, whoever stench is.
Can I also mention that there are no dates on stench's tombstone?
I think they're all fake. I honestly think most of them are fake except for
Yeah.
Do not ruin my dreams, okay?
I thought the same thing because a lot of the stones don't have dates.
which
And
we find out why they're fake later on, but
and also who would Mickey Malone have buried there? His family?
like, yeah.
Like it wasn't like I don't besides the dogs, I don't know who would have had to bury there. So yeah.
I'm thinking back then, while they were having parties, maybe they let their animals have fun in the forest, and if it was like a little park for them, so they wanted to bury their
doggy park.
dogs in the cemetery in the forest because it was their favorite place to hang out in while their owners were getting drunk, and I don't know, fornicating. I don't know what they do at parties like during the prohibition. Probably
Drink illegally.
drinking illegally, and fornicating. But mostly drinking.
Yeah, I mean they were basically just nightclubs. So yeah, that's what people do at clubs, right?
They in the tunnels. They
Oh yeah, people must have been banging in those tunnels.
Yeah, Eustacia mentioned there were a lot of dead ends. There were a lot of doors, hidden doors, behind doors. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know people were fucking in the
Who's
tunnels.
Eustacia?
For sure. I think she means
Vivian?
what's her face?
One more. Oh my
Vivian.
gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
No, I didn't mean Eustacia. Well, Eustacia is in this game, but like more like
She is. She's friends with Vivian.
She hangs out here. Okay. I give the game back the points because Eustacia and Vivian. But we'll get there.
So after exploring the cemetery just for fun, because that's what I did, because the minute you get the map, it's time for a trip. So during the phone call with Sally, she mentioned M's Emporium and how the woman there, Emily Griffin, can help. So, to the boat. But Nancy notices that not only is the boat full of water, it's also missing a spark plug. So we're not going anywhere fast. So, we have to get a bucket, get all the water out. And honestly, who are we going to get a spark plug from? Like, seriously. So only other option is to go talk to Red.
Talk to. I don't think Ned's in this game.
Bess and George are in this game, and the Hardy Boys are in this game.
Okay, so I'm giving more points to this game. We still find positives. No Ned, but You know, all the rest of the cast, all the rest of the gang, except Ned. We just gotta give them props for this.
Oh, so anyways, we go to see if Red's at his perch. He's not there. He doesn't come during the day. We didn't know that, so now we have to go to nighttime. Again, it's like it was just nighttime. So Red really does not like Nancy. We are way too loud, and all he talks about is birds. And it turns out he was a Boy Scout, and he just happens to have a spark plug on him because, always prepared or something like that. And
Always be prepared is the Boy Scout motto.
yeah, and he asks us to take bird pictures, which we mentioned it was a little suspicious.
This is what I was referencing, because the way that he says it, I think he says something like, maybe you can take some photos for me.
Do you know how to use a digital camera, is what he says.
Yeah, and it says it this really creepy tone of voice.
Mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't a kid's game, I would think he was asking Nancy to take nude photos for
Literally.
him. Because that's the way he makes it sound.
He's like, you know how to use a digital camera, right? It's like, what? Yes?
Yeah, because I remember watching Half Moon Joe play this, and he thought the same thing. Like, when he heard Red say that, he was like, oh my god, like, what?
It's because digital cameras were new, and he wasn't sure if Nancy knew how to take photos. I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, so like the fact that digital cameras are new, if you call Bess and George, you'll get a fun little caller ID being new.
Yes. Bess talks about having just gotten caller ID.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Really dates the game.
Really dates it.
We are so happy for Bess finally get caller ID. What an invention.
Because she's like, hi, Nancy.
Then her parents get rid of it because she keeps ignoring calls from people she doesn't want to talk to.
Meanwhile, Nancy has a PDA. Did you know? I don't know if you know this. Did you know you can go on herinteractive.com to get the latest tips, the latest detective techniques?
Oh my gosh.
Did you know that?
Now I do. The PDA is like, you do have to kind of use it a little bit, but it's like the most annoying thing. Like, I need a checklist. That was my main issue with this game. There's no checklist. I have to write everything down.
Well, to be fair, yes, there are no checklists. However, the notes in the PDA were pretty explicit. They basically told you what to do next.
I know, I had to use it. I was like, but I would like to know if I had already done it at the same time. I still had to write it down, even regardless of the PDA. So we have to go back up the stairs and make it daytime again. Because the only way to talk to Red is to go to nighttime. And so it's just, it's one of the game mechanics where it's just a little annoying that it's nighttime, daytime, nighttime, daytime. So with Sparkplug in hand, let's go fix the boat, basically. This is a pretty easy puzzle because you do have to use the screwdriver to just move the picture and things like that. Fun fact, as we mentioned, if you don't wear your life jacket, you will kill Nancy. So we're off to M's, and this is where we meet Emily Griffin. So Emily runs the nearby junk / bait shop. She sells Prohibition-era antiques there and insists that they were obtained legally and not by dragging the bottom of Moon Lake. Sure, Emily. Sure.
How did the subject come up again? Like about finding antiques and just.
It's a later conversation.
Oh.
I think Nancy brings up the fact that she has like a lot of stuff there, like a lot of cool stuff, and I think that's when we do a later task for her.
I remember about Emily Griffin. Only remember her cute handwriting, and she has an accent different from the other characters. It makes her
the southern one, right?
Yeah, it's southern. I don't know.
That's common for Pennsylvania.
For real?
Yeah,
Pennsylvania is a lot like Ohio.
It's not in the South, but in the more rural parts of Pennsylvania, people do have an accent like that. I think Jeff Akers grew up there. Because I was gonna say I think Emily's the only person who's from there, but I don't think that's true because I think Jeff is
He
from
grew
there
up in the
too. But
area, but
Jeff
not
doesn't have,
exactly there.
but Jeff doesn't have an accent. Like,
he doesn't.
My
But he
uncle
could
has an
also.
accent and I don't. So, in retrospect,
I could see it. I could see it being that Jeff masks his accent though to sound more professional or whatever.
very much so. I think he
But
grew up near there, but not exactly there. So we don't know how rural his town is compared to where
true.
Emily grew.
Yeah, I mean we know his dad also lived there at Moon Lake.
Well, yeah, they left though as when he was a kid.
They left. Okay.
So that's
Yes,
later.
that might explain it.
Yeah, it's later on that we find that information out. As we're talking to Emily, she comes off as very friendly, helpful, things like that. And we tell her about the tree falling, as Sally had told us to do. And she mentions that the guy is going to take a really long time to do his job, but sure, she'll get somebody out there for us. So she also brings up the fact that Sally isn't with us. She's very curious about that. And she said that she told Sally that the house would be trouble and how the dogs would come back and that they also scare her too and things like that. She's just very much a believer of the ghost dogs. She also really does not like Red, and she really does not like Jeff, as she calls him. Oh, what does she call him?
Squeaky Wheel Acres.
Squeaky Wheel Acres. And she calls Red a tree hugger, which is interesting. She basically tells us for some of the stuff that we need to get done, like testing the water, that we have to go see Squeaky Wheel Acres, aka the local ranger. Oh, this is where she brings up having issues in what she sells in her shop, and that he doesn't believe that she's following the rules.
Which she is
Or
not.
he doesn't
Spoiler
believe that
alert.
she's following the rules. I don't know what you're talking about. But anyways, we're sent off to the ranger station where we meet Jeff Akers. So Jeff Akers is Ranger Akers, and he is the only ranger in charge of Moon Lake State Park. He has a strict personality and takes pleasure in ticketing people and enforcing park rules, which has made him unpopular with the residents of Moon Lake. Sally's purchase of the old Maloon place ruined his hope of the park's department purchasing the property, increasing the size of the state park. So how do we feel about Daddy?
I feel like we can guess Jade's feelings about Jeff already, so we really don't need to ask Jade how she feels about Daddy. Jeff.
You agree?
Okay, so I have conflicting feelings about Jeff. On one hand, I love a good-looking man who has a government job, like a stable job. Helping the forest, helping nature. I like that. I'm me loving some park rangers. On the other hand, he's insufferable. So
Yeah, I mean, he's a good-looking guy, but I think his personality just kind of negates the rest of his appeal.
Yeah.
Because he's just such a cop. He's such a rule follower.
He says
He
he's law
loves-
enforcement. He's like,
Yeah,
as a
he
branch of
loves-
law enforcement, it's my duty.
Yeah, he loves ticketing people, and even to an extent where he's almost bending the rules to ticket people. He will ticket people for anything. He tickets Nancy for littering when she almost gets burned in the shed.
oh yeah, I remember that he ticketed Nancy for something. I just didn't remember what bullshit reason he gave.
I think he says burning refuse in a manner that endangered park property. Which, first of all, it was not park property. It was Sally's property. So, fuck off. But, also, Nancy almost died. And that's all he can think about.
Yeah, and I find it weird that Nancy can be angry towards Red, but she's not angry towards Jeff, which means Red is gross looking and Jeff is cute, so I can see where Nancy's coming from, I guess.
She is sarcastic towards him when he gives her the pitch. She's like, "Oh, thanks, Ranger Acres." Um, but that's it. Yeah, she's not really that mean to him.
Oh shit, that would have been me. Like, I would have been so happy to get that pin. I'll be like, oh, that's so cute. I love it.
Yeah, but she was like, "Oh, gee, thanks, Ranger Acres." Like, she's very clearly like, "This is so stupid."
Pretty much.
Yeah, wait,
But
why?
then she
Why?
wears it.
Like, he gave us this pin for what again? Or like, we did
Oh, we
something.
do. When we organize the files, I
Yeah,
think.
which he doesn't ask us to do that right away. It's a little bit farther
Yeah.
on.
And you know what's funny is that she, despite her like saying that comment, she still wears it.
Yep. Oh, I got
Like,
something
why did
funny
she
about
put it?
that later. Oh my goodness. Honestly, we know how I feel about Jeff Akers, but I also think that the ranger station is very cool. There's lots of different signs, different boards to look at, and different like things to interact with. One of the favorite things is the best couple on earth, which is Park Ranger Francis Bacon Grits and his wife Zelda Strawberry. But
I miss that totally.
they aren't important to the plot at all. But
Yeah, they aren't a but we still gotta stand them. We still gotta celebrate them. Like, here we have this couple with absolutely awesome names, like Francis Bacon and Zelda Strawberry. I mean,
his last name's Grits too, so he's just
grits.
food.
Yeah, so I mean,
The Grit Strawberry
power
Clan.
couple, most powerful couple in the Nancy Drew verse, and they are not in the game. They're just like a picture, but like we just we just have to celebrate them. Like, they're living their best lives. Like, they went to Moon Lake on probably their honeymoon, just enjoying nature.
Need to put a picture of it on the
And
Instagram.
yeah, and
Yes.
yeah, just living their best life. And we just, I mean, I fully support them. I fully support Francis Bacon Grits and Zelda Strawberry. Good job. Oh, I just thought about something. What if Stench was Bacon Grits and Strawberry's dog? I'm just saying. What if Stench was their dog? Oh, what a family, what a powerful family.
Oh my goodness. All right, so when we talk to Jeff, he does not believe that in the ghost dogs at all, compared to Red and Emily, who seem to do believe that they are real. He believes that they're just dogs that are trained to do what they do, which is attacking.
Which is like interesting because isn't that something that he should investigate?
I was
Is that
just
if
about
he
to
thinks that?
say that.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm just glad we were on the same wavelength. Like,
Yeah, no, because I'm like, wait a second. If that's what he thinks is happening, isn't that like
Mhm.
worse than there being ghosts? Isn't that means it's like a man-made phenomenon that's happening? So like, as a law enforcement official, shouldn't he be looking into that?
Exactly. Or like telling other law officials, because technically that is
Yeah.
private property. But yeah, Nancy's like, then how are like their teeth glowing and their eyes glowing? And he's like, I don't know, some kind of diet. It's just very weird. Like, you're like, okay, and you're doing nothing about it?
Yeah, it's like you're so concerned with people like littering or whatever, but like someone is like making dogs attack someone's house and you don't care.
Exactly. And then he has like a lot of issues with how many questions Nancy talks, and he's just very like, but I'm happy to help. He's just very like, yeah, like he's not helpful at all. Like he says he is, but he's not. And then this is also where we can get a vial to test the water, since that is something that Nancy does need to do pertaining to the plot.
Can I just say that if you don't like answering questions, maybe you shouldn't work in a museum.
Or ranger
I'm just saying.
station situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's very much so one of like everyone else in this game, except for, I don't know, another nature lover like Red, but like for his own benefit, in my opinion. And he also believes that Emily is dragging the lake illegally and thinks it would be convenient for her if no one was living at the Malone house. Like, he literally says that within us first meeting him. Like, and we're just like, all right, and what are you doing about it? Nothing. Nothing. It's just some things he says where I'm just like, all right, you gonna do your job? So now we have to go back to the cabin, and we might as well, go to the woods and try to get these good old bird pictures for good old Red and, get the water tested or get the vial filled for that water. But try as we may, some of the birds just simply fly away. And yes, I rhymed because I wanted to.
It wouldn't be an issue if Nancy had a gun.
What?
So she could threaten the birds. It's like, don't move or I'll shoot you.
But that's the whole problem. They see Nancy. That's why they're flying away.
But Nancy didn't have a gun. That's the
Yeah.
problem. If they saw a gun in Nancy's hand, they'll be like, "Oh fuck! I cannot run away. I cannot fly away. She'll shoot me." Okay, take a picture.
Oh my goodness. At this point, it's a lot of running back and forth, running back to Jeff to hand him the vial, and then changing it to nighttime to tell Red about how the birds are flying away, and then he's mad at us for our voice, and then he's mad at us for our clothes, and then he's like, I don't like M, but go get camouflage from M's, and it's just, yeah. Red's a lot to take in.
Oh, I see where this is going. Oh
So,
no.
yes,
Oh, no.
it's daytime since we have to go get camouflage. And guess what Emily wants for camo?
No!
Bugs.
If you love this game, valid. Like, I see where you're coming from, but personally, the bird catching, I can somehow tolerate the bird catching, but when you add in the bug finding, it kills you. It kills you on the inside. Is it because you spend hours? If you're not, even when you look it up, you're like, I still don't know where it is. You still don't know which bugs you found where. So it's a lot of process to check every area. And but if you don't look it up, it's even worse. It's even worse. It's like you could literally spend just hours looking for these bugs. It's absolutely awful. It has to be one of the 9 circles of hell. When Dante wrote Inferno, he was like, okay, this ring is working customer service. That ring is the bug puzzle in Ghost Dogs on Wood Lake. Because it's absolutely atrocious. It is the reason why my feelings on this game is just really toned down compared to the others, the other people, because I just cannot tolerate the the bird and the bug puzzle. I just cannot. And it's not just like a little thing. It's like the majority of the game. You can go. You can go.
No, that's true. That was one thing that Jade and I were actually discussing earlier, is that a lot of this game is really just tasks that stack on top of each other. Because, for example, like it's like with this, you need something from Red, so Red's like, oh, you have to go get this, and then you go to M's, and M's like, well, you have to do this, and then like you end up doing like a task on top of a task on top of a task. It's a very linear game. Probably more so than some of the other older games, which are also pretty
Yeah,
linear.
like my whole time I was writing down like all my thoughts and things like that, it literally started to write out like a walkthrough because you can't describe
Yeah.
this game without talking about how you have to go do this task to do this task to do this task to get this puzzle done to do, it very much so compared
Yeah,
like
for
even compared to
sure.
like the last game we just talked about. That one felt like it flowed a lot. Like I feel like I didn't have to talk about the tasks we had to do because
Yeah.
it didn't pertain at all to the plot. And in this game, every little thing you do pertains to the plot. Like I feel like, the stuff you had to do in the last game, like
It like supplements it versus like in Ghost Dogs is
Yeah,
like
pretty much,
that
because
is
it
the
was like
game.
there's like some like random things you had to do and running around to answer puzzle questions. And in this, you literally are. They're like, you need to do this for me, so that way you can get this to do this. And I'm just like, like I can't.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
at that point, at the in the middle of the bug puzzle, I am like, I'm fighting the urge to just set fire to the whole forest. Make I'm like, I'm gonna turn I'm gonna turn this forest into British Columbia. I'm about to do so
Fuck.
because just set the whole freaking forest on fire. Just wildlife absolute disaster because of those bugs. That's how much they enrage me.
I'm gonna be honest. I never really had a lot of issues doing the bug puzzle.
Oh, fuck you.
I don't remember struggling with it as a kid.
The only thing that I would struggle with is the very last bug. Every time I play this game, I always struggle to find the very last bug. I always have to go back and forth between day and night to
Yeah,
try to
it
find
doesn't
it.
help that you are not only having to look for these bugs during the day, you are having to look through like at night as well. I think it's the fact that like I don't know, there's like little things to know if you're near them, like sounds and stuff like that, but
They're also not evenly split between day and night.
yeah.
It's like 7 and 5. So you don't really have a sense of how many bugs you were supposed to find during the day versus the night. So that
Very
can be
much
confusing
so.
too.
None of this would be an issue if Nancy had a gun. She could just point the gun to Emily and be like, "Bitch, no. Just give me what I need. I'm not doing the bug puzzle."
I mean, that would work once, but then after that, I don't know. I think she would go to jail.
Oh, Nancy goes. I mean, she gotta go to jail at some point. I mean, she's gonna go to jail at some point. She needs to. She needs to
Better
learn
start
to get
now.
used to it.
All right. So basically, after all that back and forth of day and night to get these tedious bugs, we can finally get the camo from Emily so that way we can get the bird pictures. We end up getting all of the bird pictures but one, the red-tailed hawk. And also one of the puzzles in the living room, the cabinet puzzle, needs sandpaper. And if we go to Emily at some point, she says she doesn't have any, but Red bought it all. So then we need to go to Red to get sandpaper, and then to also, I guess, also to tell him that we can't find that one bird, but depending on how you do it, depends on when you activate that. That one's a very interesting linear thing where you bring that up, because like the one time I played, even though I couldn't find the one picture, I didn't have the dialogue for it yet. So that also bases on the whole linear thing and like where that takes place. Okay, so you have the clock and cabinet puzzle, and they actually pertain to each other, and then to the poem. So once you can get that sandpaper, you're able to unlock the puzzles and spin the doggies around and do the clock puzzle and things like that to unlock that wall where the floorboards that we fix by finding those throughout the woods and stuff randomly. We find wood that way, and then we get the nail and hammer from the shed. We get an entrance into the basement, and when you're down there, you hear things like squeaking, and also it's pretty obvious because of the game's age. There's the outline of some doors. So
Um, can I go on another rant about Sally and how neglectful and
what did
just
she do?
awful she is? Like she claims to, she claims to be a
She
fixer
just
upper,
bought
but
it.
where's the fixing? Where's I mean, put on some boards on the freaking floor at least, instead of like just letting rot and having this like sticky note like fix it. How about you put some
That's
floorboards
Nancy's
instead
job.
of putting the sticky notes at
Yeah, I
least?
guess she hasn't been there that long, but yeah, she could have done because she put up the note about the rotten floorboards. So why didn't she just take out the
That would have
floorboards?
made too much sense.
And also like when she bought the place, did she ever like wanted to go into the cellar? Like,
There's the outside cellar door, so she wouldn't need to solve the puzzle.
Yeah, but like, why couldn't she just like over the phone be like, oh yeah, if you want to get into the cellar, the key is like over there. And you could just like use the outside door, the outside like trap door to
Yeah.
go to the cellar. But like told she never told Nancy how to get into the cellar.
I mean, I'm not sure why Nancy would need to go into the cellar unless there was something down there that she needed to get.
I mean, on the way out, we find a paper about a Mr. William Akers. So that's...
No, yeah, I mean, like, why would Sally tell
she?
her to go down there?
I mean, okay, so if there were like, let's say, dogs, like dogs outside and coming after her, I'd be like, okay, so if you like get if you need and absolutely need to go somewhere, and the doors like to go into the house are like blocked or something, you can go into the cellar. Like it's a way, to protect Nancy. She could like go into the cellar, close the door, the dogs wouldn't be able to come in.
I don't trust that cellar door. Not one bit. All right, so after we find this note, we might as well go and see if this William Akers is any relation to Jeff Akers. He denies it straight up. And he also just like brings up the fact that if he had more parkland, he'd have like, what is it? If he had more parkland, he'd have more like stuff to patrol and he could hire more people. And he's like weirdly talking about how, he just needs like 10 more acres. And I think if you look at the property on one of the maps in there, like Sally's land is exactly like an extra 10 acres or something like that he would need. And it's like, okay, like very suspicious on his part to just randomly bring that up. We ask him to help find Mickey's girlfriend because we find a picture of Mickey Malone and his girlfriend Vivian. And Jeff Akers is our man. He says if we need help, go to him. But the only way he's willing to help us is my least favorite puzzle. Roman numerals.
Oh no.
The bane of my existence.
It is not it's not hard, but it is time consuming. And it makes you wonder, what is he doing in his time? Like, is it that his job to keep things organized? I don't know. Like who took care of that box with those numeral files? Like who did this? Like why? Like, my guy, you could write normal normal numbers. What is it called? The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 non Roman numerals numbers. You couldn't do that like a normal person. You had to go with the numerals for some reason. Like and I don't know what kind of archivist they have, but the guy is a sadist. The guy is a sadist.
Yeah, which I think has a lot to do with the fact that he said that if he had more land, he'd have more help, so therefore he'd be more organized and be able to help out more. Give his random tickets that are him bending the rules. But by doing this puzzle, we do learn more about Mickey Malone and his escapades here on Moon Lake due to some newspaper articles. And we also find out that Emily wrote an article that is pro getting rid of the dragging the lake ban article. So now we know even more so that she is very much so for being allowed to go into the lake and drag things up from down below. So we can head back to the cabin. Or not the cabin. We could head back to the shed at the cabin, and there's like a mask in there that we got with also the hammer and nails, and we can actually go back in the basement. And where we hear that squeaking, there actually is a surprise. There's a secret safe, and inside there's a paper and clues to figure out what the code is. And this is after we get our ranger pin too, which we can use to unlock the. You can either use the screwdriver or the pin to do this. I don't know if you all knew that you could.
Hold on. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know you could use a screwdriver.
I used the
but
screwdriver the last time I played.
I normally use the pen.
Or no, not the screwdriver, the pen.
Oh,
Sorry. You
oh
could
my gosh!
either use the pen or the pin.
Okay. Okay. You can use
I
the
watched
pin?
somebody use
No
the ranger
way.
pin.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Wow. That's cool.
Oh my gosh! I was like, what?
I
But
always use
then
the
Sorry, I
pen.
got it mixed up.
No, that's fine. I normally use the pen. I didn't know you could use a ranger pen.
Yeah, I watched somebody grab the pin
Oh,
and
well, I
use
gotta
it.
try that next time.
oh my gosh!
I was impressed. But basically, you figure out the code from the note, and that's where you find William Akers' journal. And you learn different information, not only about Malone and what happened to him, but also about William Akers' family as well, and William's hunt for the gold. Mickey left him some clues in regards to it, in regards to finding the gold after he is arrested, and what to do with the dog's tombstones. So he's the reason that the tombstones have those specific dates on them, and that the dogs did not die, but were very much so alive. But William really struggled to find the gold. He had a map that Mickey gave him that he could not, for some reason, he deciphered incorrectly, and he just really struggles. And eventually, he just gives up, and he, I believe, takes his family and moves, and that's how we learned of a Joe Akers, who is Jeff Akers' father. So the fact that Jeff said he does not know William Akers is not true. So it's time to talk to Jeff again about what we found. So we get all that information just to leave and come back again. So when we arrive, he tells us he found the girlfriend and that she's still alive, and then, the water results show that there's arsenic in it. And Nancy immediately thinks somebody's poisoning the well. And Jeff Akers is like, it's a really old well. And I was like, she has a right to freak out. He literally tells her not to
So,
freak
is
out
it
about it.
confirmed that it was the culprit poisoning the well?
I want to say yes,
I can't
but
remember.
I don't know.
think I don't remember like a solid piece of evidence that
Yeah, me
it was the
neither.
culprit. Because, like, at the end of the game, when you find the culprit's hidden lair or whatever, I don't think there's something there that definitively proves that it was being poisoned, but we can maybe assume that it was.
I like to think it was just for a little
It could
added
have been
spice.
okay. It would have been fucked up, but it could have been another person than the culprit. Because, to be fair, everybody wanted Sally to leave. Well, it would have been fucked up regardless of who it is. Yeah, there's a high possibility that it could have been the culprit, but it would be more interesting and gasp if it was someone else, but they never addressed it.
All right, so we bring up Joe Akers, and Jeff's like, "All right, you caught me," and that's how we learned that William was in fact his grandfather, and that he wasn't very proud of it. But I gotta give props to William. He decided to have a better life for his wife and children, and found a better job, and he moved out of the area to do bigger and better things and take care of his kids. And look at Jeff Akers now; he's a park
Yeah, I
ranger,
mean,
a wannabe cop.
William seemed like a nice guy. It didn't seem like he was a bad guy. He just worked for a mafia or just worked for a mobster. That's it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh wait, hold on. Have we addressed the newspaper
Which
yet?
one?
The ones in the
Yes,
the
I
one in the
talked about
cellar
them.
and the one in the. But
Yes, I did bring those up.
content. Wait, the content.
Not the exact
Okay.
contents.
I was thinking Malone is heavily like borrowed from
Yeah, he's
that
probably Al
monster.
Exactly.
Capone.
Al
Yeah, Mickey
Capone.
Malone.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I watched recently like a video on Al Capone, and I was like, wait a minute, this is way too similar. This is they could have been the same
That pretty
person.
much
Yeah, I'm not
is.
surprised.
They got had it, but because of tax fraud or something shit like that. both of them.
Yeah, that was the thing. Yeah, they got Al Capone on a smaller charge, but that was like all they needed to get him into prison, basically, and he died there.
Yeah, which is very similar for Mickey. He died also after
Yeah.
being incarcerated.
How do we feel about how do we feel about the game glamorizing, the a gangster
Um,
and in the prohibition? Someone
well,
that is like really like that is the life is really borrowed by by from Al Capone, you know?
yeah, it's interesting. I guess like I don't know how much of the bad stuff they could have covered in this game if they
Mhm.
wanted to keep their PG rating. Um, because they don't even really bring up the fact that Mickey Mantle is probably a pretty violent
They
criminal.
fluff
They
him.
don't really say even what he did. They're like, "Oh, he was a mobster," but they don't say exactly what he did. I think they mentioned he might
I
have
think he
I
made
mean, he did
moonshine.
own, like, a speakeasy, which was illegal at the time. Yeah, or something like yeah, he made moonshine, and so he was a bootlegger, but, they definitely gloss over some of
Mhm.
the other stuff he would have been doing at the time.
Yeah, because if you look into Al Capone and the his mob, it's they did some really violent shit.
Mhm,
And
yeah,
in
for
this
sure.
game, they really do not address any of the violence. It's all like sunshine and rainbow. They're just having fun. They're just like, you know, they have a secret speakeasy and they have booze and they just party. It's all good. It's all fun.
Yeah.
Yes, he robbed a trade. He robbed a trade, but no casualties. Not that we know of.
Mhm.
And it's like it's like when in reality the way they got booze is not by just giving hugs and pats in the head and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But the way people got booze back then was pretty
Yeah, it's like they
violent.
were either making it themselves or they were part of like a underground black market trade.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it's interesting.
Mm-mm.
Because they like, I feel like they don't even really teach that much about prohibition in this game.
Yeah, I was just about to bring her up.
Even Vivian was like, oh my gosh, he was such a fine man.
Yeah.
Like he had this little It was he had a little
Yeah,
tap for
birch beer.
me specifically, birch beer. Like, oh my gosh, what a man! Like, and all of that. I'm
He
like,
might have been a
Yeah, he
gentleman.
might have
He
been a
just
good
did a
night.
lot of
Yeah, he
bad
might have been a
things.
nice guy. Who knows?
uh,
I
eh.
do want to point out the best thing ever is if you go to M's after getting your junior ranger pin, Emily will like talk about it and like make such a snide
Yes,
comment.
that's how you know that Nancy put it on because Emily will say, like, "Nice junior park ranger pin." It's like, why did Nancy put it on?
I mean, there is an easy solution to this. Em could have just given her own little pin, like that says "I support crime," and Nancy would just go
Crime.
back.
No, it wouldn't be crime.
Uh,
It'd be I support drudging, not drudging, dragging.
doesn't sound as
Dang.
good.
Yeah.
Which technically is a crime, so I guess.
I I kinda
Yep.
like I support crimes pin. I feel like Jeff
Yeah.
Akers would have a stroke.
They don't have like "I love arson" pin for Nancy.
Yeah.
um, Around this time, when you start going to the different characters, Nancy will bring up gold and if anyone knows anything about it. And she brings it up to Emily, and Emily is like, very like, if there is any gold, it's long gone by now, kind of like thing. So, and like Jeff will be like, I forget what he says exactly, but he's very much so like, even if there is gold, it probably isn't there anymore. Like they all are like, no, I either didn't know about the gold or it's probably long gone. I think both Red and Jeff say that they didn't
Yeah.
know about any gold, and Emily was the only one to say even if there was, it'd be long gone by now. So we go back to the cabin and we call Vivian Whitmore. And I love this conversation with her in the beginning because she's immediately like, "If you selling, I ain't buying." Like very like sassy firecracker kind of personality of like people from that generation who grew up in the 20s. She is Mickey's ex-girlfriend, and from her we learn about the speakeasy and how to get into it from the cemetery. which is why it's assumed that a lot of the tombstones are fake and not real, because one specific tombstone in there is making fun of, I believe, a police officer or detective named Waldo, and the only people who know how to get into the speakeasy from in the house are Willie, aka William Akers, and Mickey. But from her, she wants to exchange the picture we found of the two of them for the key. So we go all the way there to have this phone conversation, just to go all the way back to Jeff.
I just want to say about Vivian. By the way, what a queen. But it's like if you are expecting a call from Nancy because Jeff Akers told you so, who wouldn't you be like actually waiting for a call instead of like treating Nancy like she's like she is a vendor? Wait until you know for sure that it's a vendor and
Yeah,
not the other person. So it doesn't
she
make any
does kind
sense.
of say, if you sell them, we ain't buying, kind of thing. But then Nancy's like, no, I have questions for you, Jeff Akers. So after that, she explains who she is, but not before getting judged immediately. Um,
Yeah, but other than that little thing, I mean, still, what a queen!
like she
What
kind
a
of,
queen!
she had a mobster for a boyfriend. So.
Yeah, she had to be able to hang.
She could party.
Yeah.
She still parties.
She, I mean, she did say that she wasn't as crazy as the other guests, which means that she was the craziest one
Yeah, she was
in
drinking that
that
birch beer and
party.
dancing on tables, I bet.
Totally.
I just want to point out, like, I totally ship Vivian and Eustacia. Just saying they should be together. There you go.
We're gonna bring this back to Red again because, like I mentioned before, he doesn't talk about the red-tailed hawk, so we go talk to him, and he does finally mention it. It's like you have to. There's like certain things you have to do, like find out about the speakeasy, and like there's like very linear. Like you have to find some things out before you can even bring up that conversation. So if you get all the photos before a certain point, you're just kind of wandering around. Um, and he brings up a map of an old tree, which like an old tree that like all the hawks like and used to nest in. But in truth, that tree does no longer exists. But it just happens that there is a tree outside the cabin, but now all that remains is like a stump. So you hear the hawk turn around. You look at the cabin roof, you see what you've been looking for, you go to take the picture, and then you go, huh, is that a speaker on the roof? And then bang! Nancy's knocked the fuck out.
She sure
Wait,
is.
wait. Okay, so I wanna before I forget, I wanna ask, how did the culprit get that freaking speaker on top of that house?
I don't know, a ladder?
No, I mean like,
Oh, no, actually there's a ladder on the side of the house that you can go up.
did they put the speaker before Sally bought the house? Probably, maybe.
Yeah, because Sally just recently bought the
Maybe
house.
that maybe the culprit put it there when they knew that Sally was coming.
Okay, so yeah, Nancy's hit on the head. We're thrown into the shed, and guess what? It's set on fire. And we have to Rube Goldberg machine our way out of our hands being tied together.
Fire, fire, fire.
Fire. And then obviously we also go run to get water, because if you don't run to get water, bad things happen. Also, if you don't get out of the shed in time and you mess up the puzzle, which I found this out when I streamed it, I messed up the puzzle early on. Like the first move I messed up, and I had to sit there until I died. Like I could not fix it. It was an immediate game over, and I just sat there waiting for like a good minute or two. Like it took a really long time for Nancy to die.
Nancy's whole life flashed in front of her eyes when she saw that there is literally nothing she could do. except wait for death.
It was just weird that I was able to break it that quickly and not be able to fix it. Like, that kind of frustrated me because then I was just sitting there.
Oh, it happens to most people. It happens to me all the time. I always fuck it up the first time.
Yeah, it was just knock it down a point in your words. So then after we put the fire out, Red shows up and pretty much yells at us, asking if we're playing with matches, and saying how we're gonna start a forest fire or whatever because it's really dry this time of year. And then Jeff comes and ticket us.
The fire thing reminds me of when Red earlier asked Nancy if she smoked there was two options. Well, the iconic one, like only when I'm on fire. And the other one is cigarettes. No, which implies that she doesn't specifically smoke cigarettes, but she could be smoking other stuff. Which brings me to my point: when are we gonna have Nancy smoke weed with the Hardy Boys? and the best of George.
Only when we have a game set in the 70s.
I mean, we had a game set in the 20s, so
We're waiting.
Yeah, we're waiting. There's still a chance.
After Red yells at us, we get ticketed. I believe we have a phone conversation with Sally explaining what happened. She's still convincing us to try to leave. And she also blames us for it, if memory serves me. She blames us for the fire. Like, everyone blames us for this fire. It's like, all right, it's just Nancy's fault.
Nancy has the face of an arsonist. Let's be real.
It's foreshadowing.
You can tell that Nancy, wherever she goes, there's always a fire somewhere. Like there's all fire falls her everywhere, so it must be her.
Apparently. So we can also talk to Red that same night, and he actually apologizes for the map being wrong, which go for him for actually apologizing for doing something wrong. But he does not apologize for yelling at us. Or, yeah, he doesn't apologize for that. They're blaming us.
Yeah, well, men do not apologize. So
yeah. Turns out Red's married, by the way, and has a dog.
I think his wife is dead.
Is she dead?
Well, I mean, she's not there.
He says that she doesn't like bird watching.
She said, my wife had no patience for birding. That's what he says.
Oh no, Lois Griffin is dead.
I'm pretty sure she's dead. Or they're divorced.
That's why he's a bitter old man. He does sleep during the day and bird watch at night, so the possibility of him and his wife actually being alive, that's sad. Okay.
Chick watching.
All right, so nighttime, go to daytime, get the key from Vivian, so that way we can finally go into the Speakeasy. All right, so the Speakeasy, how to get into there is to go to the cemetery and go to the tombstone that says Waldo, put the key in, and change his name to Baldo.
Oh no.
It's so dumb.
I mean, all right. Like, it is kind of a diss, but it's still like a mild diss.
I mean, it's a PG-13 diss.
He's bald. Called him Baldo. But like the minute you get in, like also the technology for the 20s must have been great because I don't know how those stairs magically open. But
yeah, like we just got caller ID, and yet they managed to make these like magical stairs.
Yeah,
I don't know. You can say that about a lot of games. Like some of the ones where it's like an ancient puzzle that works with like very modern technology.
Yeah, it's just there's some things continuity. But like the minute you get in, the flashlight dies, and my thought process was like, of course it does, because they want me to run around some more. So time to go to M's. Thankfully, to get the batteries, it's a pretty easy thing. We just have to turn a pop display into a goldfish. It's the weirdest thing, but that's all we have to do to get the batteries. To then go back to the cemetery. And then once again, make it say Baldo.
That's the other annoying thing is like this happens one other time in the game where like you have to fail a task before you can accomplish it successfully because you have to have your lamp die in the when you're going down the passageway so that you can like go get the battery and come back. Like there's no reason that your flashlight has to go out just so you can go do another puzzle.
Exactly.
It's like dumb.
Yeah, that was one of the frustrating things for me was the minute.
Because it's like you solved the tombstone puzzle and then it's like, oh, you gotta go back and then you have to do the tombstone puzzle again.
Plus side, it wasn't that hard to figure out because you can kind of keep the L in the middle, like only moves.
Yeah, it's not that hard. It's just like why you shouldn't have to do it twice.
Yeah, so anyways, we're back in the cemetery. And once there it's just dirt tunnels and you just kind of go down it and you find the entrance to the Speakeasy, but it's kind of, there's some dead ends here and there, not a lot. But it's like, yeah, definitely the whole idea that people were probably rendezvousing in those tunnels.
Like at least the flashlight that we got is not a UV light. Am I right?
It's not a glow stick.
Oh god.
The glow sticks. We'll get to that. We finally made it to the Speakeasy, and it is, if I thought the house was dog themed, the Speakeasy is the epitome of a dog lover. It is everywhere. Pictures, posters, little details here and there. There's just pictures of dogs everywhere. Even the door that you take the board out and it goes into the basement. That's how they would get in. It's covered in Egyptian style dogs, with the gold and the reds and the. It's just very much booze. It's booze, gambling, and dogs.
Sally got so lucky because when she purchased that house, nobody knew about that Speakeasy, but now the value of her property just went up by a lot because of this. Not just any Speakeasy, the gangsters Mickey Malone's Speakeasy.
Exactly.
So really, she got extremely lucky, and she doesn't deserve it because Sally's a bitch. Okay, well, all right. I'm done with it.
All right, so
yeah, no, that's true. To both.
So in this area is very important for forward our plot. Those doors I mentioned are locked, but not only that, the spigots at the bar are locked. So I don't know how we figure it out, but if you go up to the roulette wheel, there's a button in the middle and you push it and it unlocks the spigots. The spigots are, I think it's written down probably in William's journal. I think, or Vivian brings it up. But somehow you're supposed to know that each one of the spigots colors represents one of the dogs, and you know that by looking at the pictures. There's really big pictures of them with their collar colors on, and then you have to put their first initials to unlock the door. It's hard to explain. You had to have been there. And what this does is it unlocks a secret passageway.
Yeah, I'm surprised, not a single drunk person there ever, accidentally solved the spigot puzzle.
Yeah, it's just, that one's a little weird. And then because of that map we found in the journal, I do believe we found it in the journal, it's the whole thing about where the different dogs like to hang out. You gotta pay attention to the pictures to help you figure out that stuff for later. In the secret passageway, in the tunnels, to a tunnel, and in that tunnel we have some murals on the walls, and it's the pictures we just saw in the Speakeasy, and one of the pictures in there was badly damaged, but here we're able to see it perfectly. And there's also different murals that are interactive, and these murals are maps, and it's you're kind of just like, not so sure about this kind of puzzle just yet. But if you keep going down the hall all the way to the end, up the one direction, open the door, and all of a sudden you hear Dogs.
Oh.
All the dogs. And these are the ghost dogs of Moon Lake, aka real dogs, inside this cave, inside of a metal kennel. No sunlight, but there's at least food and water, I guess. And you find out that these dogs are very real, very nice, and friendly. And there's a little work table, and you see the speakers, the wires. There's glow in the dark dental stuff. There's food for the dogs to like basically make their eyes glow, and then you press a button on a little remote and the dogs start to frantically attack because they are trained to attack a certain sound. So, you also find a notebook. And in this notebook is a bunch of notes about our culprit and them talking about different things that they're dragging from the water and pulling out from the water, different dates, different appointments, different times of days that they're finding stuff, different locations that they're finding it. A lot of it's near the dock of the Malone house. And they even talk about the new owner moving in, and they even talk about Nancy knows where the gold is, and there's different little clues in there, and there's magazines on this table, and in the magazines it mentions two of our last previous games that we talked about, the Mayan temples and Brady Armstrong. So this person theoretically knows who Nancy is and what she's known for. Also, my favorite note that is in there is Malone and his stupid puzzles can take a flying leap. It's probably the best best note in there. Alright, so after we explore this area, it's back to the murals, and we pull out our little small map, right? And we're looking for one that matches up, because we're like, okay, this one matches, and we have to find the corresponding spots on this map mural and click them to unlock it. And once we unlock it, we walk down the hall, there's a door at the end, we enter it, and BAM! There's not gold. It's a giant water well.
Wah, wah. At least it changes from fire.
At least it changes from fire to water. And if you open that door to the water well thing, it will kill you. And I may or may not have done that, because when it opens, it takes you straight to the door. So your first thought is, ew, let me open it. And then bam, Nancy's dead. So this puzzle is kind of frustrating. I don't know if anyone else had issues, but when I was playing it recently, when I was streaming it, I was struggling so hard that I had to look up the answer. I could not do it.
My turn to say it's not that difficult. I never had an issue. I'm kidding. It's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
I never had to look it up, but it's a lot of trial and error, like trying different stuff.
It was weird. I did it correctly, but it didn't count, and I still drowned. It was...
Well, it's a screwdriver, right?
Yeah, something with the screwdriver was not right. So I then backed out and then walked back into the room to reset it. I was like, let's try that. So once you get that water pressure level down, you have to make sure you take this wheel with you that we just found randomly on the floor. And we walk in there and we get our Krollmeister Wellworks. I think this is the first mention of Krollmeister in the Nancy Drew series, right? Or did it be?
Wow.
Was it brought up in the previous one? I think it might be in Scarlet of the Hand.
I feel like there's a Krollmeister
Scarlet
thing
of the
before
Hand.
this, but I can't
Yeah, like
remember what
that machine in the lab. Yeah.
Scarlet of the
Yeah.
Hand. Yeah, I think some of the equipment, the ham radio, I think is Krollmeister.
So we're in this thing, and I don't know how Nancy thinks that the date on the Krollmeister thing pertains to. It's a puzzle. So there's a door down there. It's color coded to the dogs again, and you have to figure out the numbers corresponding. And once you do, we find gold.
Yay! We're okay. Let's keep everything. Let's keep all the gold for ourselves.
Nancy decides to keep the gold, and therefore ends the story. No. But not only do we find the gold, but the culprit finds us, holding a bone in their hand. We look up the ladder and we see Emily.
terrifying.
gosh. Not Emily. Oh my
Not
god.
Emily.
As a
Like at the top of the letters. She's like, "Hi, Nancy." Like,
as a kid, this scared me so bad. Like Emily holding the bone, standing over you, it traumatized me. Hey there, Nancy.
so yeah, our culprit's Emily, and you kind of figure that out once you find the dogs because the notebook
Yeah.
has the dredging catalog brought
Mhm.
up.
And it also has some things that are, like, written the way Emily talks, so you can, like, kind of infer.
Yeah, and the handwriting as well.
I don't know how y'all feel about finding out who's the culprit at the diary instead of like the last moment when we find the gold. Uh, but I don't know. It kind of bummed me to find out who it was, like at the diary instead of like when we find the gold. Kind of bummed me.
Oh, that, like, it's kind of revealed then instead of having it be more dramatic.
Like because we kind of knew everybody knew who it was when they showed up. Like it was like no surprise.
That's true,
There
yeah.
was no guessing by the time you got to the gold, but it was pretty much the end though. So
Yeah, it's, like, pretty much right before, so I feel like it's okay.
I don't know. It's like all the other games. You can kind of be like, oh, okay, it's time for me to guess. But when you find the gold or something like that. But in this game, like a lot of people, they find the dogs and all of that, but they don't expect to find out who the culprit is yet. So they don't make their guess, and then they read the journal and they're like, oh fuck, wow, just found out. There's one other game. I think there's one other game where I think it was Albine Ashes.
Yeah,
Literally, yeah,
you know that it's the culprit about 30 minutes before you actually finish the game.
yeah. So it felt like that.
Yeah, no, I see your point. I think I agree that, like, sometimes you want the culprit reveal to be, like, fully unexpected. But I don't know, I guess in this case though, like, you pretty much you find that diary, like, right before, so I
Yeah, it's
think
not as bad. It's not as bad as
yeah, it's
Albine
not as bad.
Ashes. It's not as
and if
bad.
you're not like
Yeah.
me and don't
Yeah, for
actually
sure.
read things,
Yeah, if you didn't read it carefully enough, you might not know. You might have just not
me
seen
as a
the
kid.
signs.
I don't know. Like, even if you don't read it, it's like
Like, maybe a kid would miss
I
it,
did.
you know?
I don't know. Like, I just feel like if I were to read, if I were to just look at the diary and the inside the diary, it's all like, okay, highly doubt this handwriting belongs to old Peter Griffin. Highly doubt it belongs to Jeff Akers. So that leaves one other suspect. Which, by the way, 3 suspects. What the heck is that? Like, what's that? This game has 3 suspects.
I mean, the last one had
Yeah, I mean, I
3.
yeah, I feel like the most of the games have around 3 or 4.
What? Wait, no. Like, hold on a sec. Hold on a sec. I'm gonna look it up because I'm
Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
sure.
Scarlet Hand had 4 suspects, right?
Yeah,
It's Henrik, Joanna, Taylor.
it's one suspect lacking is a lot. It affects the game a lot. Like it's already like it limits the amount of people that could be the culprits, but also like also the dialogue. Makes the game shorter. Well,
Not in this
I
one.
mean, the game was padded. The game was padded with other bullshit, but
Yeah, it was padded with chores.
And dumb
Um,
conversations. And you could talk to
yeah.
Bess and George a lot and like Joe and Frank, but like I didn't really bring them up because you really don't need to talk to them.
Yeah, you really don't.
yeah, I think I might be wrong. I'm gonna have to look it up, but I think Moon Lake is the only game where there is only 3 suspect.
I mean, there are games with fewer suspects. Like Grand Theft 7 Ships only has one suspect.
Okay, well, Ransom is like a freak of nature.
And then you have
wait,
games
hold
like
on.
Waverly that has even more than 4.
Yeah, but for me, 4 or plus. For me, is 4 or plus.
Oh no, it does have 4.
Uh,
Shit. All right, I recounted in
Wait,
my
hold
head.
on. What? Okay, now this is bugging me.
The squirrel doesn't count
It
as
is
a
5.
culprit.
Hold
There's
on. Oh
5
no, I
in
was
Emily.
wrong. Curse of Black Matter. Unless
So what Nancy needs to do, so we're kind of stuck in this this well thing with her hovering menacingly above us with a bone in hand, and we have to escape. And how to escape is there is a not like a manhole cover, but like a grate, like a circular grate on the floor, and we have to basically slip out of that, go through it, and then slip out on the other side and slam the door shut. And then we call the police, and well, actually, she tries negotiating with us to give us half the money if we don't call the police or some kind of bullshit. And Nancy's like, "Nah," and slams the door in her face.
Yeah,
that's a rich girl. That's rich girl behavior. Okay, if it were me, I'd be like,
Yeah,
yes.
point.
Okay, let's do this. I'll take half. Okay, we're not talking
they
about this.
also reused the animation from Treasure in the Royal Tower for Emily being trapped down there. Like, it's
Yeah, it
literally the
is.
same animation.
Oh
The
my
fact
gosh,
that
yeah.
how can Emily not figure out how to get out of there like Nancy? Like, what's stopping her?
I don't know.
Is a way like can you lock it from the outside? Maybe
Yeah, that's what Nancy does. She shuts the door on her from the outside.
by the time she gets up there, like it's too
Yeah,
late.
it's like, how did she not think to do what Nancy did? She was literally staring at us. Or was she trying to make her way down? I think she
Yeah,
might have been trying to make her way down.
I don't know if yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I know like what Nancy does is she drops down into the sewer, goes up a different tunnel, turns around and
Yeah.
closes the door on
After she
Emily.
tries, yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, then that's, the end of the game. And then we write a wonderful note to Ned. And the note says, because I have it.
The note says, "Sucks to be you. You're not in this game."
If only. It says, "Dear Ned, as soon as I got out of the tunnels, Emily had left the door open. I called the sheriff, but when I led him back down to the well, to the room where I'd left her, she just sat there on the gold and refused to leave. He and his deputies finally got her out, but one of them said afterwards that if he had to choose between getting a bear away from her cub and getting Emily away from that gold, he'd pick the bear. What's worse, by the time they took Emily away, the place was swarming with reporters from all over the country. The commotion has scared away every bird for miles. I'm pretty sure Red Knot would like to strangle me. On the other hand, when Ranger Akers found out that 7 cars and 2 helicopters were illegally parked on a park property and that he was going to get to ticket them, he was ecstatic. Trucker Davis finally cleared away the dead tree, which means I'm free to drive home. Moon Lake is beautiful, but I've had enough wildlife for now. Which reminds me, did I mention that those 4 ghost dogs are actually very sweet? They're so sweet, in fact, that Sally is seriously thinking about adopting them. How's that for irony? Ever yours, Nancy."
Red was so furious at Nancy for this that he flew to River Heights and set town hall on fire and tried to frame
Yes.
Nancy.
We need Red Knot as a culprit to come back. So, and his revenge motive is that Nancy destroyed the forest that he used.
Should have been Red Knot on that Monkey Island. Should have been Red Knot.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, we want to move on to overall opinion. Who would like to go first?
Okay, so here's the thing. Like I said, like if you love this game, good for you. But like in my personal opinion, Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake is highly overrated. It's not that good, people. Is like maybe like it is just okay. It's okay. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just there. Like there are way better than Siju games. But it's it has some good stuff, but it's been ruined by the worst puzzle. Some of the worst puzzles, like the bug puzzle, uh, and the numeral fighting, that was awful. Also, only three suspects. Maybe it doesn't really matter for a lot of people, but personally, I'm like, really, only three suspects? Okay, you are on the budget, I guess. Um, and I'm think about it, and so it's a 5 out of 10 for me. And I'm sorry for all of my friends, because I have a lot of friends who love Ghost Dogs on Moon Lake. I'm sorry to all of my friends, but the game is not that good. It's middle of the road.
You know what? That's fair. I would. I really like this game because it has a lot of nostalgia for me. It was one of the first Nancy Drew games I ever played, so I feel like I may look at it with rose-colored glasses because of that. But looking back on it, I kind of agree. It is like an okay game, and I think it really suffers from being so linear and task heavy. Like the game goes out of its way to pad the runtime by like adding tasks onto your list. And I think if it didn't have that, it would be a better game. Because I really like the atmosphere of it, and I really actually enjoy like the plot. So I would say overall, I would give it a 7 on 10.
Okay. Honestly, for me, while playing this game on stream a couple weeks ago, I remember being very frustrated. I wasn't fully enjoying myself. Like, I was enjoying myself streaming and all that stuff and playing Nancy Drew, but it was just kind of like, because it was so back and forth for me, and then the lack of a task list, at least for my brain. Yes, there is the PDA, but if you don't even think about it, you forget that it's there. It's just very, for me, tedious. But I do think fondly of this game as being like one of those ones that I remember playing as a kid and being like entirely like spooked out. It's good for what it is. It has a good, I think the story is pretty good. It's interesting. You got the Roaring 20s mentioned, you got a Secret Speakeasy, you got Ghost Dogs. It's got a lot of good little bits and gossipy characters, and everyone hates each other. But there's just so much tediousness that I do have to kind of like not rate it as highly. So I personally would give it a 6 out of 10 for me.
People are about to come after us if they listen to this episode.
Yeah, what can I say? If it wasn't for the fact that I had just recently played it personally, I probably would have a different feeling. But I did just recently play it, so it's like very fresh in my brain. For me.
I don't know what's up with like January, beginning of January, but literally every streamer that I follow on Twitch played played Ghost Dogs. Like literally every, not literally, I was exaggerating, but so many
I did.
Nancy Drew streamers, like including you, played Ghost Dogs, and I'm like, what's happening? Why is everybody playing Ghost Dogs? There's something about January and Ghost Dogs, like a link I don't know about, because everybody playing the same game. And I watched them. I watched the streamers. So at one point, I was so sick and tired of Ghost Dogs. I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is the 50th time I'm watching Ghost Dogs. Can we move on? Just a fun thing. Just a fun thing.
Thank you so much for joining us today. You can listen to The Real Housewives of River Heights on any podcast streaming service such as Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And don't forget to check out our Patreon, where you can get things like our bonus episodes, and you can listen to our podcast a day early. And as always, check out our link tree. You'll find some new socials down there, such as me. I am now streaming, and Tina also streams as well on Twitch. I go by Rain Loves on Twitch. Tina goes by Tina Balducci, so check those out. we are both variety streamers, but we also stream some Nancy Drew. And thank you again, and goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
You sound so enthusiastic.
Yeah, well, it's late.